Howdy people, I'm Nat at Mud Magic. Thank you for joining me again for a session on Stevie the Wonder Wheel. Today I got inspired by Aubrey at Morel Designs. She made this beautiful faceted sort of like mixing bowl sort of shape in indigo float. So I thought I'm going to try my version. So thank you, Aubrey. I hope you don't mind. I don't know how much clay she used, and I don't know when she faceted it because it was just in one of her Kiln Unlow's beautiful bowl. So I'm just doing it how I think that it would be done, and yeah, just see. So normally when I facet something, I pull up the cylinder, facet it, then bowl it, and it swirls the facets, and I really like that look. But she had straight facets, which I absolutely loved too, so I'm going to try that this time. So my plan is to pull the bowl, then wait until it's leather hard, trim and facet it at leather hard, which normally obviously I do it now because I do it before I even bowl it. So that's a little bit different straight up. So this is about just over 4.5 kilos or 10 pounds of clay. I wasn't going to do that big, but that was what was left from my bag. So I just went with it. So I have kind of centered it. As I've said to you before, I'm not too fussed with centering large pieces. It's hard to do. So as long as I get it kind of centered, as I pull it, I'm hoping I can kind of adjust it a bit. So I want my walls just a little tiny bit thicker than normal. However, my walls tend to be thick anyway, so I'm not, again, not too worried about that. Because I want to facet it. So with big clay, I find it easier to go down with a sponge. Sponge tends to stay a bit wetter and you can get that kind of angle better. Well, that's just what I find. If you find that it is sticking, or the top bit was sticking on my finger, just stop and let it. I mean, if you're doing this size clay, you don't need me to tell you how to pull. You wouldn't be attempting this if you don't know what you're doing. Well, I wouldn't recommend it. You can, it's fun, why not? You know, Sharon at Sharon Ruth Pottery, she claims that she's a novice potter, but she's so good. I mean, I know she says herself she used to throw, but like 30 years ago or something, and she's new back to it. But she's great in the sense that she'll just dive in and try stuff. She's kind of like me in that way. So she may do this. There you go, Sharon. There's a challenge for you. 10 pounds of clay. And I love watching her videos when she attempts things. It's really interesting. She did one of my flop bowls. It was beautiful. And the end result, she did it pink. I think it was in Poppy Fields or Amaryllis or something. It was just beautiful. I loved it. So very well done. So always compress your bottom a lot. I like to use my sponge even on little bits to compress. I don't know why, I just do, but you can do it however you like. I leave quite a thick base because I like to, especially on bowls, I like to trim quite a big foot and make it a statement piece. But I think that might be a bit too thick, I'm not sure. But as I pull, I tend to push down in the base anyway, so it should be okay. And the more you do this, the more you're compressing anyway. Less S-cracks. Fix that at the top. Okay, so let's go. As you know, I love pulling large. I don't know why I love it. It's expensive because it's a lot of clay, but I love the possibilities it gives you. You know, you can make it into anything, and so many times they have not ended up what they've been started to be. So quite a lot of flop bowls for obvious reasons, have started out this way. So this may end up a flop bowl. We shall see. May not even end up on YouTube. If you're watching, then I got something out of it. Now with big clay, especially with big clay, have it going in from the start, because as soon as it goes out, you're going to lose all control. It's going to wobble and it's going to just die on you. So I'm pushing a lot harder with my outside hand to make it go in, as I'm sure you can see. And if we get a bit of a wobble at the top, don't worry, because that's from having it not perfectly centered, and you can cut top off. It's fine. I still feel like that bottom is a bit thick. I mean, as I say, I like trimming a big thick base in, but at the same time, you might as well have that clay in your wall. You don't want to have trimmed too much off. It's just a waste. I'd rather have it in my wall. Then trim it off later. So it's kind of a balancing act between having a nice foot and wasting clay and a nice big wall, quite tall wall. I mean, Aubrey's design, which is what I'm going for, was more of a mixing bowl shape anyway, so they're never as high as my V-shaped bowls, because you bowl them more. So that's okay, but if I remember, I'll measure it at the end, tell you where I got to with it. I never seem to get as high or wide as the sort of professional potters that put up their results. I think because I have thicker walls. So I just chunked out a big piece of clay, which is, I think, because I pulled that extra clay out in the bottom, so that's okay. Just clean that up. And the other thing I definitely recommend with throwing large is putting your rib over to recompress your walls every now and then as well. Especially that bit I just chunked out, it's probably put a weak spot in the wall, which I'll probably find right now. No, I didn't feel it, so it must have just been a bit of extra clay from pulling out the center. Okay. So just keep it coming in and in and in. Believe me, it will make your life much easier, even though I'm going to then bring it out in a minute. But it does, it definitely makes a difference. Got my wheel going a bit slower than how I would with mugs and smaller pieces, because it's big. If you're going too fast, it's just again going to go out instead of in. Centrifugal force. Trace loves that one. That makes her laugh. So yeah, but again, the more you throw big, the more you get to know what you can do with it. So we're getting there. Almost looks like one of those honey pots I do on steroids. Huge honey pot. So yeah, I know this is a very wide base, but that's what I wanted for the shape bowl I'm going for. I wanted a wide base. So this is where I hate when you can't connect your hands anymore in the beginning. It makes it harder and it wobbles like that. And it's starting to go out, but that's okay because I'm at the point of wanting to, wow, that really did wobble, wanting to shape it anyway, so that's okay. It's interesting, as soon as you can't attach your hands, that can happen. Now, I might just practice what I preach and put the rib over. As I've said before, I always use a metal rib. Love my metal rib. Not a fan of wooden ribs or plastic ribs, but that's just personal preference. Don't jump on me. I know people love them, and that's fine. I just don't. I love how I have the flexibility. I mean, the rubber ribs you can as well, but with the metal ribs of bending them to shape whatever shape I want, especially when you're shaping, not so much at this point, because I'm just trying to push it back in a bit and strengthen the walls a bit, and then go into shaping it. Okay, so it's looking a bit better now. And then you can also do the same inside if you want to. I've got quite a few throw lines inside, and which will, with big clay, cause weak spots. So before you shape with big clay, I recommend doing that. Will recompress your walls, give you a bit more stability for shaping. Keep forgetting to put my pool noodles back on the sides of my wheel. I love that for putting my tools in. I've split holes in them. I don't know where they are. Probably on the ground. I don't know. Anyway. Alright, so I think I'm going to try and bowl it now. Hopefully it's not too wet. As I've said before, the Keen 6 clay, if you play with it too much, it then is not, it just starts flopping everywhere. So if that happens, I'll just leave it and come back to it when it's dried up a bit. We'll see. And this is also where you can shape using your metal rib, or well, whatever rib you like, and it will help to strengthen the walls as well, instead of just using your hands like I just did. So you're just starting to tell the clay where you want it to go, what shape you want it to go in. There's no need to rush. It's very dry now. But let's hit the rim. Okay. It's really nice. I've said that to you before. Having that camera there helps shaping and pulling. Okay, so it's looking, oh, it's so hard to reach your water once it gets so big. From the inside it's looking really bold shaped, but from the outside it's still looking quite upright, which is a bit not what I want. But at the same time, you don't want to, if you're having a problem here of it flopping here, you're coming out too fast. See how that's like at an angle? If you're getting a step where it's in and then out and then up, it's the weight of the clay here will just drop down on that step, and you'll get that beginner's hump in the middle, and it'll just be a mess. So I'm quite happy with that. Because as I said, I'm going to facet it as well, and it's probably already getting a bit thin because I have stretched it. So I'll probably just stop there, but I'll just put the rib over it again. Kind of, because I'm bending it, I can see as I'm pushing around the shape, if it's the same the whole way around. And then do the same inside. So I'll try and do quick maths for you, but my tape measure, being an Aussie, is only in centimetres. So if you divide it by 2.5, it'll give you inches. I don't think I've got inches here. So in centimetres, it is, so about 10 pounds of clay, 34 centimetres. So that would be about, I don't know, 14 inches, something. 14 and 14's 28, 31, 32, yeah, 35. So 34, so yeah. About 14 inches, 14, 15 inches. And height, it's hard to measure, I don't want to knock it. Oh, it's about the same. Oh no, hang on, what did I say? Oh no, sorry, so it's only 14 centimetres high. So that's about 6, 7 inches, something, I don't know. Sally Roper uses her hands, which is, I don't know if my hands are the same as her hands, but she always says 4 inches. So yeah, that would be about 7 inches if my hands are the same as yours, Sally. So that's it. So I will come back when I'm trimming it and faceting it and show you. I'm not even sure what tool I'm going to use for that yet, because Aubrey had really wide, really nice facets, which is what I want to achieve as well. So that's my big bowl. I will show you the top if I can. Let me just see if I don't drop you. My big bowl. So it actually goes out over my my bat. So yeah, it's quite big. I love it. Okay, so I will see you in about 5 seconds or a day or two for me. Bye. Okay, welcome back, my mighty people. So it's the next day. It's very wet. It's not even really ready to trim, but because I want to facet the walls, I want them to be quite still wet to be able to facet them. So I'm going to have to trim it quite wet. So let's go. So I've just got you on the top view and I'll change it for the faceting. So I always start with this tool. As you can see, it's sticking to the clay, it's quite wet. I've had plastic on the rim and just to keep the rim a bit wet for me to facet it. And then I'm just going to do as best as I can. It is a bit hard. It's kind of like how it's hard to trim when things are dry. It's also hard to trim when things are wet, because as you can see, the clay sticks to the wall. So it's okay, it's kind of borderline. And I think with this one I want to keep this what do you call it, like a pedestal foot. I really like that look on a bowl. It does make them a bit heavier, so if I decide it's too heavy I might change it, but for now it's going to give me a nice stop point for my facets too. So as I've said before, with my Giffen grip, I will pick up obviously all the pieces that are going on the floor, but normally I put a bucket, a cut open bucket, beach bucket around to catch all those, but it makes it harder in a video for you guys to see, so I will pick that all up later. Now, as you can see with my Giffen grip, you can't see the feet. That's because this bowl is too big to have the feet on the outside. So I push them all the way to the middle, put the bowl on top, and then pull the feet back out, which obviously you just have to do by feel when they hit the wall and when they catch. So it's also a bit of a gamble with going in with this too, because if you go too far, you'll go through here into your bowl, which obviously you don't want to do. Asking me how I know. Okay. I'm gonna try, oh see that's so thin, maybe I won't. I was going to try and put a foot on, but maybe I'll just leave that. When I pushed that, as you saw, it went straight down, so it's very thin already, which is fine. Sort of an illusion of a foot or something. As long as this middle bit is lower, it's fine anyway, because it's not going to make it wobble. I'm not happy with that, so I'll just take that down. There we go. And then I definitely recommend everybody has like either a crystal or this is a river rock, and you can just burnish your edges. It's got a bit of clay stuck there because it's wet. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, you can burnish all your edges with the river rock, and it makes it nice and smooth and nicer looking. So I'm not too happy with that. As you know, I always like to put a foot in something, but there's not enough clay there, so that's all right. I'll just leave it. Stamp on it, and then as you can see, it makes it a bit difficult when it's wet to trim, but that's all right, we got there. And then as it sits up, it'll be more workable anyway as it dries. But the main reason was so that I could do the faceting. So I'm a bit worried about faceting it because the walls were not as thick as I would have liked in the end, but we'll see how we go. So I'm just going to change your angle so that you can see what I'm doing with the faceting. I will be back in a sec. Okay, right, so from watching Aubrey's video, she had really nice big wide facets, which is what I wanted to go for. So I've decided to try using this, which is just like a coil / handle tool that I use. I never used it for faceting, so we'll see how we go. Now she had the nice round part at the rim, so that means starting at the rim and pulling up. Now I could go through the wall. This is my disclaimer because it's a bit thin, and so we're going to be a bit hard to show you as well, so I might just do like one here. Yeah, it's a bit hard doing it on the opposite side. You can see how blobbly it went, but I'll fix that up. So yeah, you just, that's all you do really. You just pull, get a tool that you're happy with and pull. It's actually easier to pull it down. Maybe I'll just do that. Okay, so can you see that? Yep, I went through the wall. I thought that was going to happen. Second one, and I went through the wall. So I've had a little bit of a think. I've flipped it over. I'm going to continue because I thought, let's see how I go with the rest of it. Hopefully, if it only happens up here, I'm just going to make a feature out of that. Why not? So, I might actually take this foot out. I flipped them back around thinking I was going to hold it in place, but I might just take the feet out so they're not in my way. And I'm just going to keep going. So I'm just going from the top down to the bottom. Reclaiming all this clay. It's just too hard to do it. in the camera view, unfortunately. Kind of just did a tiny little tear there, so I'm just going to try and patch that one. It's a bit lower, so I don't know if this is going to be all that successful. But we'll keep going. See, and it's just interesting to see how you can run with things like holes anyway. I'm hitting the light. I hope this comes out as beautifully as Aubrey's if I make it the whole way around. Don't want to jinx it. With the indigo float, I plan on doing the same glaze as well because it's beautiful. Hers was beautiful. Anyway. And I'm going to do thick coats of the indigo float because otherwise you get it breaking brown on the thin areas, and it can be between a beautiful glaze and a really ugly glaze depending on your application. So hopefully I get the beautiful blue that I'm after. They're making their way around to you, yeah? It must be nearly there. Oh yep, you're getting the hole coming around. After telling you all about my beautiful summer weather that we've been having here, and everybody in the snow saying that they're jealous, and me saying I'm jealous of the snow, we've had a bit of a cold patch today. So, or the last couple of days, it's been a bit cooler, 21 degrees Celsius, and I call that cold, so it's still fine. So if you can hear all that noise in the background, it's raining. It's been raining for a couple of days now. Pouring. So if you could hear it when I was throwing and wondering what the noise was, it was raining then too yesterday. So I am wearing my tracksuit pants, or as we call them in Australia, Gwen, trucky ducks. So there's another one for the Mud Magic Dictionary, unless you use that term, I don't know, but we call them tracky ducks. So this was a good throw. I was happy with the throwing video, but not so happy with the trimming and the faceting part, because of that hole. However, maybe it was a sign. Maybe I was meant to have a feature, or to show you what I do when something like that happens, because I could have been tempted to ditch the whole piece, or I could have, as I was tempted to get a needle tool and cut it off lower and lose some of the height, and I still could if what I'm thinking about doing doesn't work. I still could do that. getting there. At least you're starting to see them coming around now. So I will go over them all with a sponge to make them nice and smooth, so it won't stay jaggedy like that. Jaggedy. Getting there. And one more. I love it when it lines up really nicely and you can just works. Alright, there we go. So I'm going to just go and grab my little round cutters because I wasn't planning on doing that, so I didn't have them ready, so I'll be back in a sec. Okay, thank you Apple for putting that pause function, love it. So there's my little cutter, my little round cutters pack. So I'm just going to try and find one that's about that size, which I think that one is pretty perfect. And then I'm going to go around and I'm going to do, because that's in the top of the facet, I'm just going to do it on the top of all the facets. As you can see, I'm not measuring anything, I'm just going along the top and hoping that they kind of line up. And it's because the holes are up so high, it's still a very functional bowl. Unfortunately, it will give indigo float something to break on, and I don't like the brown where indigo float breaks, but we'll see. Do it thick and just see what happens. I guess you've already seen because it's probably the thumbnail. It always gets me when I'm sitting here working on it, realising you guys are already ahead of me anyway. You've already seen the end result. So I can't stand it when people do, and I've probably been guilty of it myself early on, but people do these sorts of videos and they don't show the end glazed result. And you sit there and you watch and you watch and you watch, and then you don't get to see the end result. Especially if it's a glazing video and they're teaching you how to apply glaze or layering or whatever, and then I show you the end result. It's like, well, did you not like the end result? very thin. So I'm just going to have to leave it alone and let it dry and get a bit more stability in it once it dries. Hopefully it doesn't crack. There we go. So I actually really like that. So from being an error to going with it. And as you can see, my line's not straight, but so what? It's handmade. It's all good. I like it. All right. So that's it. And then I will next up stick it in disc, glaze it, glaze fire it, and we will see it come out of the kiln unload. But you will have seen it in thumbnail. So I will see you shortly. Bye. I survived bisque. Yay. So she just came out of the kiln. Oh, so pretty. So proud of my massive big 10-pound bowl. So that is 3 lavender mist, 1 river birch, and purple rain jungle gem on the rim. So pretty.